United transfer news just keeps going, doesn't it? Jadon Sancho, Jadon no-show. He wasn't at training today. There's 3 very good reasons why. We'll talk about that. Also, GUEHI, Manchester United in a transfer race with Arsenal apparently for a player I mentioned 2 months ago is of interest to Manchester United. What are your thoughts on GUEHI to United from Crystal Palace, and what is the latest with that as well? French reports Mason Greenwood is basically saying au revoir. He's got his beret on. Ooh, Betty, but not. You're never going to know what some mothers do have, really, are you? I don't know why I even did that. But look, he's off to Marseille. And, I know my French, so we'll get a bit of that going as well. That's done. Also, we'll be talking about what Luke Shaw's had to say. He's done an interview today in relation to Manchester United, but also England. Marcus Rashford, a bit of an update on him. And also, Manchester United will bid again for Jared Branthwaite. This is coming in from Chris Wheeler in the Mail. Lots to get into on the show tonight. Lots and lots and lots. And Lee Harvey's a new member as well. Absolute legend. Fantastic. But I'll tell you who else, before we get into it, is a legend. And I hope you're not feeling hungry. In fact, I almost hope that you do. HelloFresh is on the United stand. Hello to HelloFresh. This offer is absolutely incredible. Basically, what HelloFresh is, it's a food service that's delivered to your door. You get 3 or 4 meals delivered to your door. You pick them from a wide range of dishes. All tastes are catered for. You don't need to go down to the shops for anything at all. The bottom line is that it's there and ready to go for you, delivered in your box. I've just had my box delivered, and I'll show you what I've got at the moment. But each delivery includes all the ingredients and easy to follow recipe cards. For example, this is what I had for tea tonight. 21 aged sirloin steak and roast potatoes with garlic, tarragon and mustard butter and roasted carrots. You get your card, you get all your ingredients. You can see down that hand side there. And on the back is all the instructions on how you do it. So I've got 3 dishes delivered for me. I've got sesame, honey roasted duck breast coming through as well. That'll be tomorrow. And then on Wednesday, I've got Serrano ham wrapped with chicken breast on tagliatelle. Lovely. All delivered, all ready to go. How do you fit into this? Well, use the code UNITEDF4L by scanning the QR code or going through the link in the description. You will get an incredible 60% off your first HelloFresh box. 60% off. But it gets better than that. You get 25% off for the next 2 months. So if you get another box next week, you get 25% off these lovely meals selected by you. 25% off. And on top of that, you get free desserts for life. I've just had cookie and creams in them little delicious pots. Free for life. Amazing offer. Delivered to your door. Fantastic food. 60% off your first box. Free desserts for life. And 25% off for the next 2 months. Check it out. So many great dishes on there. Website link in the description. Or scan the QR code. And don't forget to use that code UNITEDF4L. Absolutely fantastic. Big shout out to HelloFresh. Right, let's get on with the show. Hello, Jadon Sancho. Hello, Jadon No-Show. Right, loads to get into on the show today. Big shout out to HelloFresh, of course. But on Jadon Sancho, I don't really know where this all happened, if I'm being completely honest with you. I'm a little bit confused as to why the fucking volume is so low. Is anybody a computer specialist, right? I've just checked the volume. It's gone down to 60%. Has anyone got a... Look, I work off a desktop, right? Bloody desktop. What computer changes the bloody volume down? What is that all about? Like, the only thing I can think of, right? I was on StreamYard doing the Fabrizio Romano interview, and then I've gone back to my normal streaming service, and the volume goes down. Like, if I wanted the volume to go down, I'd bloody ask you. If I'm watching tennis while I'm having my dinner and I go for a piss and I come back and the dog's changed it to bloody The One Show, what are we doing? Did I tell you to put The One Show on? Why is the volume going down? What's that all about? It annoys me. People saying you've got to relax, but it bloody annoys me. Why does it go down? If I want the volume to go down, I'll turn it down. Don't bloody get a mind of your own when AI's not welcome here. It's not welcome here. We're not AI volume. We're Goldbridge volume. Anyway, it's not too loud now. It's back where it should have been. Apologies for that. I've fixed it. But Let's talk about Jadon Sancho. So, Jadon Sancho, a rumour went around this evening. I don't know the origin. Well, I do know the origin, but I don't definitely know the origin because I can't be bothered to watch it. But apparently, there was a few... Well, I read an article as well today that Jadon Sancho was due back, and I can't remember who the journalist was. So I've definitely seen that today. Jadon Sancho was due back today. Will he be back today? We even spoke about it this morning. Then there was a rumour going around that he hadn't shown, right? The bottom line is, with Jadon Sancho, apparently he turned down an offer this morning that wasn't Juventus because he wants to go to Juventus. He probably won't be back in training with Man United ever. And if he is going to be back in training with Man United, he probably won't be back till next Monday. Because, and it's really easy to figure this out when you can be bothered, Marcus Rashford's back in training, Mark. Oh, Marcus Rashford's back in training. Mason Mount's back in training. When was Marcus Rashford's last game of last season? 24th of May. And then he was on holiday. 24th of May. 25th of May, I think, was the final of the FA Cup. You could say he was on holiday on the 24th because he didn't really turn up. No, I'm joking. That's a joke. After the FA Cup final, Marcus Rashford went on holiday, didn't he? Harry Maguire's not back in training today, is he? Harry Maguire was left out of the England squad on the 5th of June. Harry Maguire joined up with the England squad for 10 days after the FA Cup final. So he's not going to be back today because he needs a longer holiday. Rashford's had a longer holiday. Mason Mount's had a longer holiday. You know, so if you've not been involved in international games, you're back today. If you've been involved in international games, you're back next week. So Harry Maguire's not back today because he was still part of the England squad until early June. And what did Jadon Sancho do on the 1st of June? He played in a Champions League final. So Jadon Sancho played a week after Marcus Rashford played in the FA Cup final. So Jadon Sancho's not actually due back today. And neither is Harry Maguire. And Victor Lindelof's probably not back today either because I think he probably played some internationals for Sweden. So that's how it goes. Apparently Harry Maguire was back. Are you definitely sure Harry Maguire was back today? Are you 100% sure? I thought he was in Portugal. But look, Harry Maguire was injured. So maybe that's why he's back. But Jadon Sancho played in a match on June the 1st. So that is why Jadon Sancho is not back today. He wasn't due back today. The point still remains, and it's been factually checked out with the people who care. And no, he wasn't due back today because he played in June, and he therefore has played a week after people like Marcus Rashford had. So he's not actually due back today. What? Why is people messing with my door? I'll tell you what, with volume and people opening the doors, it's a great show today, isn't it? There were pictures. No, you know what? I'm not going to get into an argument about it because there's so much to talk about. But the pictures I saw, it didn't look like it was definitely from today with Harry Maguire. It was like Harry Maguire's due back today, and then they had a picture of him, but it didn't look like it was there. Look, it matters not. We're not talking about Harry Maguire. We're talking about Jadon Sancho, and Jadon Sancho wasn't due back today. There is no story that he didn't turn up. So anybody who's shit-stirring trying to say that Jadon Sancho was meant to turn up today and he didn't, that didn't happen. You might want him to go, you might not like the kid, whatever, but whoever's shit-stirring that he was due back in today is literally shit-stirring because he wasn't due back today. He played in June for Borussia Dortmund and therefore is not due back today with Manchester United. And that's the bottom line, whether you like it or not. Sergio Reguilón onto United again, says Tim. What's that got to do with the price of bread? Lindelof was back with a dodgy tash today. He was on a video, says Andy. Thank you very much for that. I mean, look, I don't know about Victor Lindelof. I don't know about Harry Maguire, but I do know about Jadon Sancho, and I do know that he played in June and Marcus Rashford played a week before that. So it stands to reason that he's not back, and that's the reason that's officially been given out. Casemiro and Lindelof were posted twice today on Instagram. Okay, I'm going to end the show in a minute. What's Victor Lindelof and Casemiro got to do with anything? We're talking about Jadon Sancho not turning up for training. And he didn't not turn up for training because he was playing in the Champions League on the 1st of June. Have I tuned into a different United channel where the intelligence is really low? Or are people just not listening to what I'm trying to tell you? He wasn't not due back in training today. Like, it's really pissing me off because we're not doing this. We're not witch hunting a player when they weren't due back in training today. Like, you're better than that. We don't do that. You know, go off and do it with the toxic people who do that, who want to, you know, start agendas. He wasn't due back in training today. End of story. Let's move on. Right, I want to talk to you about Mason Greenwood. Oh, great. Oh, you know what? I just don't know. I just don't know what to say. We go from one topic of controversy to potentially another. Mason Greenwood. Okay, this is going to go even better. So Mason Greenwood, according to French reports, is 95% certain to be joining Marseille. The fee is meant to be £21 million plus bonuses. And it is closer than it's ever been. So with Mason Greenwood, we could end up getting that sort of, here we go. I mean, I don't know what's going to happen first, Zirkzee or Mason Greenwood, to be honest with you. But I feel bad because we've just had that conversation, argument about Jadon Sancho, and we're now walking into another one, which is, I'm not on my period. I get annoyed by people who don't listen. I don't mind having a debate, but bloody listen. I couldn't give a toss whether Lindelof's walked in with a wig on. It doesn't matter. We're talking about a rumour going round that Jadon Sancho didn't turn up for training when actually it's bloody obvious why he didn't. Anyway, let's move on. Mason Greenwood will leave Manchester United. I'm looking at the chat and hoping that we can just move past this one and move on to the other stories. I know a lot of you will be very disappointed by this. And I know that a lot of you were fantasizing that, you know, Ineos were going to say he's staying and he's coming back and, you know, all the stuff that we've been listening to for the last year. But it's not going to happen. He is going to leave Manchester United. I have been telling you that for a long time. But some people just want to believe something else that, you know, we don't want to get into the arguments about what's right and wrong on this. But Manchester United made a decision a year ago and Ineos never wanted to change it. That he will go. What the deal will be with regards to buyback clause, first refusal, sell-on clause, I don't know. I mean, who knows? I mean, honestly, there might be a day where Mason Greenwood plays in the Premier League again. Who knows whether it will be with Manchester United? I don't know. But he is going to leave. And I wouldn't say I'm happy about it because that's just that's antagonising and inflammatory. I'm relieved that it's going to be resolved for everybody because I think that speaking maturely and not taking the piss anymore, it's that volume it's not even the Sancho training thing. It's that volume that's got me angry. If there's one thing in life my friends and family know about, if the volume's wrong, he'll lose it. You know, he doesn't even care if his dinner's a bit cold. He doesn't even care if, you know, the taxi's late. He doesn't care if he's got no cash. You know, he'll solve a problem. But if the volume's wrong, he'll lose it. Can't remember Christmas 2021 when he walked in to watch Classic Only Fools and Horses and someone had turned it down by 2. He bloody threw the tree out the window. But on a serious note, I'm trying to lighten the mood a little bit because I know that there are people. Look, there are real people out there that are going to be devastated by this about Mason Greenwood because we've seen them in our chat and you see them on social media. Bring the star boy home, you know, ignore everybody. You know, I even got sent something today from an email that had been sent to Manchester United Football Club saying, tell Sir Jim Radcliffe to keep Mason Greenwood. It's what the fans want. And obviously there was a lot of replies to it saying it's not what we want. But there are people out there that genuinely wanted him to come back. And it was never going to happen. But I'm glad we're getting to the point where we don't have to keep talking about this because the bottom line is he hasn't played for Man United for over 2 years. Is it 2.5 years now? It must be over 2. It must be 2.5 years. So you can't miss what you haven't got. And you certainly can't say you missed that player because he's not been here for 2.5 years. There's no doubting he's a good player. You know, I honestly, you know, have said that at one point, you know, generational talent, you know, what's the ceiling? But we've got to move on. He's got to move on. And we can't move on while he's still a Man United player. So I think it's I think it's a good thing that we finally move on, and the future is yet to be written, isn't it? Who knows? One day we're not polling it, mate. What's the point in poll? Oh God, yeah. What is the point in doing a poll on Mason Greenwood? You've been trying it for 12 months. They're not taking any notice, lad. They're not interested. Your poll is irrelevant. Even if 99% of you want him to stay, he ain't bloody staying. We're moving on. He's going. Right, I'm moving on to the next topic. I wanted to get that out because it's news. Let's talk about GUEHI. I will poll this. Would you sign GUEHI for Manchester United? Because I think this is really interesting. So I was made aware of a story today that Manchester United and Arsenal are set to enter a race for GUEHI from Crystal Palace because he's refusing to sign a new contract with Crystal Palace. And I think his new contract is due up the year. He's only got 2 years left on his deal. So Crystal Palace are in a very difficult position because, you know, they want to retain value. They don't have to sell him this summer, but by next summer they're going to have to sell him. So there's a potential there to do something, isn't there? It's interesting because this story's going around again because remember in March, in the March international break, we did that video where we brought the hotometer out and we spoke about players. And I said, do not discount GUEHI. He is definitely a player that Man United have scouted and like. But I think that's changed now. I think that if he hadn't gone to the Euros and Harry Maguire had, and well, even if he had gone to the Euros, he wouldn't have played. Because Harry Maguire, if he'd have been fit, you know, would have played. And he probably would have been more attainable. But the fact that he's now a starter for England in a semi-final of the Euros, I just don't think that it's going to be a deal that Man United can do. Maybe Arsenal can do it, but Crystal Palace are going to say 60 million, aren't they? That's what they're going to do, and we're not going to be able to do a deal like that. Do I like the idea of the player? I mean, look, we're getting De Ligt. We need another centre-back. I would throw him in there with Yoro and Todibo and Branthwaite. I would throw him in there as an option. He's a good option, of course, but I don't think Manchester United, if I'm being completely honest, are going to proceed. But what is really important is that he is a player that we've definitely looked at, and we are going to look at a second centre-back, which leads nicely into the update that Chris Wheeler has given a few hours ago in the Daily Mail. And what he is basically saying is that Manchester United will bid again for Branthwaite. So we will bid away again for Branthwaite, but the difference between Manchester United and Everton on Branthwaite is apparently £30 million. So yeah, I mean, somebody said it this morning, and I really do agree from the chat this morning. If you're going to bid for Branthwaite again, it's got to be the final bid, and Everton have got to show some, you know, leeway. Because as Fabrizio said this afternoon, Branthwaite's open to coming to Manchester United. Like, that personal term stuff is true. He is open to coming to Manchester United. I hesitate to use the words he's desperate to sign. You know, I think De Ligt and Zirkzee want to come to Man United, and they're definitely leaving Bologna and Bayern Munich respectively. But with Jared Branthwaite, I think he's open to coming to Man United. I think he'd want to come to Manchester United, but I don't think he's saying to Everton, I have to go. I think if he doesn't go, he'll stay at Everton. But that gap in value between Man United and Everton is basically 70 million and 40 million. And we can't go above probably 45. So if Everton aren't going to negotiate that, then we have to move away, don't we? And what I would also say about Branthwaite is it's been going on for a long time. I think the first story about Branthwaite is nearly a month ago now. So you need to get some resolution on that one quite quickly. But apparently we will bid again. And I suppose what we've probably done is wait for Branthwaite to go back into pre-season as well. We're getting linked to about 6 players. How can we afford all these players if we aren't selling any big players, says Mr. Ben Gibbons. Well, that's not really for me and you to know. We can all speculate. But what I've enjoyed this year, and I don't know whether it's the same elsewhere, is that every other year we've spoken about transfer budgets and what's available. And I think every year we become more and more educated. You know, I think there would have been summer transfer windows in the past where we'd go, well, we spent 90 on Pogba, 25 on Mkhitaryan, that's 115, you know, we spent such and such, you know, we're adding it up like that, and then we've sold this, and this is the net spend. But that we all know that's not how it works anymore. And it probably and it never did work like that. We were just simpletons. You know, Chelsea have exposed the reality of how transfers work. I think people are more awake to that now. So look, Chelsea went and spent £1 billion, but they probably only spent 200 because they've just, you know, 8-year deal, £100 million, we'll give you 15 million for the first 5 years or whatever it works out to be. So it's very, very difficult to say, well, how are Man United buying 6 players when we can't afford it? But we can afford it because it's all about the financial year, isn't it? It's all about until June 2025. It's all about, you know, FFP and profit and sustainability. And if we can spend £100 million, you can technically buy 5 players worth £50 million each, but you've only got £100 million. How do you spend £250 million when you've only got £100 million? Because you just do it installments, 15 million a player over the next 5 years. But we're already doing that with other players. So it's impossible to know what we can spend because we're not party to Man United's accounts. We're probably still paying Anthony this summer. We might still be paying a bit of Casemiro this summer. We're probably paying a bit of Rasmus this summer, and Mount and Onana. So it's not a reset. Like, we will still be paying money from transfers that were last summer and the summer before, but it's very difficult to figure out what we can spend is the answer. Will we sign any new midfielders? If we sell McTominay, we might need to sign 1 or 2. Are we getting linked to any? Hello from Paraguay, says Maricho. I would watch the show this afternoon with Fabrizio, mate, or we'll talk about it later because I don't want to sort of repeat stuff that people who watch the show this afternoon with Romano already know. Great show, loving the content, says Michael. Thanks everybody for tuning in, you're legends. Donny van der Beek going for 5 million plus bonuses, which could go up to 16 million, and now Mason Greenwood going for 21 million and could go up to 30 plus 50% sell on. Are we finally a serious club, says Mario? I thought Donny was going for 500,000. Did you watch Bielsa's interview? He explained why he thinks football's boring. I've been saying it for weeks, mate. I did watch it. Al Nourani. Yeah, I completely agree with him. Where are all the good goals? Where are all the bangers now? Football's become so like a chess game because of people like Pep. Ten Hag was back today, says Niki. And thank you very much for that. Okay, what else do I want to talk to you about? So, spoke to you about GUEHI. Spoke to you about Sancho. Spoke to you about Greenwood. Let's talk about Marcus Rashford, actually. Mojo says, if we are going to send in another bid for Branthwaite, it seems there is some sort of agreement with Everton wherein X amount will be good enough for them. And could Branthwaite put in a transfer request? Yeah, but we know what X amount is, don't we, mate? It's, you know, at the end of the day, it's really all about... Everton wants 70 million. If Everton don't come down, we can't do that deal. So it will always come down to what Everton want to do. We've got a comedian in the chat. Gia says, Mark, is Zirkzee a Dutch Fellaini? I mean, look, I could really sit you down there and say, what is it about Zirkzee that makes you call him Fellaini? Because that's dangerous ground, what you're doing. What is it about Zirkzee that you're making him be the next Fellaini? Because they're not the same position. They don't play anything out like each other. They're not the same nationality. So what is it about Zirkzee, Gear, that you're trying to say is like Fellaini? What is the distinctive thing that you're saying is that makes him Fellaini? Because it's not his footballing ability. It's not his style of football. And it's certainly not his nationality. So, you know, just be a little bit careful with your comedy. Because it's not comedy. Nobody's bloody laughing. And... He's nothing to do with Fellaini. You know, Fellaini was not a centre forward for a start, so there is no comparison with Fellaini, and your joke's not funny. We've also got another Matthew says, talking about superstars returning. When is Beth back? Says Matthew. I think Beth's back on Thursday. I'm trying to think. I think she's back on Thursday. I'm losing track of days because we've got the Euros semi-finals as well. He's not slow either. Bogdan, he's not slow. So Fellaini was slow. He's not slow. How high would you go for Branthwaite, says David? I think 45 million up front with add-ons taking it to 60. I'd go 45 plus 15. Or I'd go 50 plus 10. But 50 is a lot of money. 50 is a lot of money. I just think that add-ons isn't even taking the piss. I think add-ons is the way to go, really. Yeah, I think it is. Rashford, right, okay. So Marcus Rashford is back in training today, as are some players, not Jadon Sancho, and looking very, very, very sharp again. Saw Simon Stone said that Marcus Rashford's actually back in training today, but has been doing extra work for the last 2 weeks as he looks to get his form back for next season. Now, I read the comments. I'd say 50% of them were very positive and 50% of them were quite negative. I've got a really mature take on this, which some people will say, well, that's going to be different for this show because it's not been very mature. I'll take my hat off to that. From some very childish behaviour from me tonight. But you know what? Sometimes you've got to let off a bit of steam. I've had a good run. I haven't had a show like this for quite a while. And the mods will feed that back to me later. So I'm allowed a naughty show. But I predicted a few weeks ago that Marcus Rashford will have a good season this year. So let's just remember that. You can own me on that if he has a bad season. But I've said Marcus Rashford will have a good season this year. And I said it at the end of last season. I said, I've got a feeling Rashford's going to have a good season next year. And I'll tell you why in a moment. Also, but I do agree, we hear this every year. We see it with Man United players all the time. In fact, Rashford's the only one I've heard of it yet. Oh, they're so ready for the new season. They've been in Dubai for half of June doing extra fitness work. I mean, I think we've had it with Newt, Lingard, McTominay over the years. It's not unusual to hear that United players have been doing extra work before the start of pre-season. I think Rashford will have a good season because I think there is a bit of a rhythm here. Good season, bad season. Good season, bad season. Bad season, summer, get away, mental reset, physical reset, focus, come back, good season. But what you got to remember is his last good season wasn't all season. It was basically the start of that season till February, and then it fell off, and it continued all through last season. All I'm going to say here is, and some people will get it and some people won't, because some people just like, I think the world we're living in at the moment is really dangerous. This is nothing to do with football, but I think the world we're living in is really dangerous. I actually get quite concerned about, where we get our news from. I'm going to sound like a flat earther here, and people will say, well, it does exist. But, how much of these Twitter accounts that we interact with that are just a picture of Martial's boot or, Ten Hag's head, who are they? Are they even real? Are they a piss taker? Are they even, it could be even AI. And people get manipulated by things. And I think social media is such a, it's either, you're either really positive or you're really negative on social media. And very few people are sort of in between. And if you are in between, you get called a flip-flop. When actually, being in between is actually human. Like, you don't hate everything, you don't love everything, and sometimes you're indifferent to something. I call it the traffic light system, which I probably nicked from somebody, but, not everything in life is red and green, happy and sad, joyful and angry. It's what's in between, it's amber. And I think that, I think with football, I call it player FC, but what it actually is I like that player, I hate that player. I like that player, I hate that player. There's not really many players that people are indifferent to who will go, well, he played shit there, but he was brilliant last week. People aren't like that. It's extreme behaviours. I think there's a bigger picture story, and I'll probably do it on Driving with Goldbridge one day, because I think censorship and the way the world is going, and I fight against the mainstream because I think I know what it is. It's nonsense. I mean, I did a video the other day about Harry Kane where you've got Gary Neville and Lineker and everyone saying, well, whatever you think about Harry Kane, he won't be dropped. And I'm like, hold on a minute, you're the mainstream. You're meant to be saying he should be dropped because everybody knows he should be dropped. You know, where's the conversation if you're just going to toe the party line? What's this got to do with Marcus Rashford, you're saying? Well, I see people say, you don't like Rashford. And I'm like, you don't watch the United stand. Because let's go back to that night when he went out at Belfast and you lot absolutely destroyed me. You know, I got owned by you lot. I got burned the lot. You destroyed me because I was like, there's no way he was out missing training in Belfast. It would have been Wednesday night, not Thursday night. And, you know, a bit like with the volume, I did it for that. And I got absolutely, quite rightly, destroyed by you lot. And, you know, you went in on me. And that's fine. That's absolutely fine. You're still here. I'm still here. We can disagree. Marcus Rashford and Anthony Martial were two of my favourite players a few years ago. Not anymore, for different reasons. They didn't, for different reasons, hit what I think they should have done. But I still retain an affection for Anthony Martial as a player because I think it's a little bit like, this is football, by the way. I'm not in love with these players. But if you've ever had a girlfriend or a boyfriend or whatever you call it these days, you do sometimes look back with affection on your first loves, don't you? Even though it wasn't quite right. And I think when I look back at Martial and Rashford, they were my favourite players. And, you know, I still have a soft spot for them. And actually, with Rashford, there's nothing more I would like. And with Martial, but he's gone now, for them to have that redemption. And I really do think that that can happen. But it's either you love Rashford or you hate Rashford. And I see it on social media and I find it really difficult to talk about Rashford. But I'm not going to not do it. I'm not going to not do it. But I find it really difficult because if you say something slightly constructive, you hate him. And if you say something slightly positive, you're on his PR. And actually, that's just what's wrong with life and football in general. It's so extreme. And I want to operate in between. I want to say Rashford's a disgrace for what he did in that game or in that game. But I also want to say that was bloody brilliant. That's what we want. And surely that's what we want in football because I see it with Bruno. I see it with other players. People are doing it with Rasmus now. You can see the movement against Rasmus and it's the same people who don't like Rashford and Bruno and they do like these players. But when I see Simon Stone or somebody else back on topic say Marcus Rashford's back in training today and he's been training hard for the last 2 weeks to make sure he's fit and ready to go for the start of this season. What do I honestly think of that? Very little. Very little. And not because I'm like, oh, here comes the PR. Absolutely not. And not because I don't think he's going to be in the right mindset physically. Because he will. But the problem with Marcus Rashford is not his fitness. That is not the problem with Marcus Rashford. The problem is the consistency, the mentality, and if we're being completely honest, the big red herring in the room, his footballing ability is the problem. It's not the fact that he can get on a treadmill and make himself look fit with a six-pack. It's his final ball, if we're being really clear. His creativity and his greed are counterproductive to the way we want to play. And that is where Marcus Rashford will be judged next season, because cutting in from the left-hand side and scoring 30 goals would be great, but what happens when it doesn't happen? We've already seen what he can do. He can cut inside, he can have a good season, he can have a really hot run, he can score 20 goals and we'll be in the top 4. But what happens when that stops? Because it's not sustainable. He's never been able to sustain it. It's very individualistic. It's very, very flair. And also, I think a lot of defences have figured him out. A lot of teams double up on him now and show him down the outside. So, if we really, really want to see Marcus Rashford deliver at Man United, it's not about physicality. It's not about he's running 2 weeks. What wingers are you watching? What are you analysing your games? Like, what Rashford needs is people around him working on patterns of play that give him a different dynamic. Because if I'm playing against Marcus Rashford, not me individually, he'd tear me apart, but if I'm managing against Marcus Rashford, all I'm saying to my right back is show him down the outside on his left foot. And what I'm saying to my right winger is double up on him and show him, channel him down the left-hand side. Always. Don't let him get ahead of you because he might cut in, but just step back, channel him down the left-hand side. Don't let him cut inside and shoot. And if he cuts inside, I want my midfielder coming in to cover as well. How many times does he shoot and get blocked? That's what people are doing against Marcus Rashford. So if I'm Marcus Rashford and I want a good season next season, I've got to be unpredictable. I've got to be the guy that, it's a bit like boxing. If you've got a really good finishing punch and everyone knows how it works, they'll defend against it. But if you learn how to use a different punch, they're suddenly a little bit confused. What I want to see from Rashford is, that game against Fulham, he's on the left wing. Instead of cutting inside and shooting or trying to take 2 or 3 players on, switch the ball to Gu&eacute like you did in the FA Cup final. It led to a goal. Pass the ball into the feet of Zirkzee or Rasmus and make a run. Give it to Bruno and diagonal run. Look at different ways where you can get in behind, where you can get the ball away. And then what will happen after half an hour, that Fulham defence will be like, he's getting rid of the ball quickly. We need to get in tight on him. And that's when you go, right, I'm not going to give the ball away. I'm going to take you on. I'm getting, he's got to, it's not about his fitness. It's about his footballing ability. For the last 5 years, he's been a good player on and off, but everybody knows what he's all about. And he didn't get in the England squad, and he had a bad season last year. It's the development of his game. And I just wonder about the likes of Heck and Van Nistelrooy, if they can spend a bit of time on that, because that's what we need from Rashford. It's not, if I hear Harry Maguire, Luckhurst was on today about Harry Maguire is doing extra training sessions in Portugal. Great. Is that going to make him play a high line and be a yard quicker? Because if it doesn't matter how many shuttle runs he does it? So it's the same with Maguire. It's the same with McTominay. Oh, I've got a 6-pack. Scooby-Doo. Great. We all know you're really fit. Ultimately, it's about football, isn't it? And if I see Marcus Rashford this season passing the ball, putting crosses in the box and mixing his game up, then I'll genuinely get excited. Rashford needs to learn to adapt his game as he goes. It's football IQ, says it's Mark. It's almost like it's Mark. The pundits are like headlines, just riddled with one-liners that mean nothing, looking to get clipped for X. Let's read into these players a bit more, says Dennis S. Connor says he needs to spend some time studying his own tape, not on the training ground. Connor, look, it's not my place and people would laugh at me anyway, but if I had an evening with Marcus Rashford and we were going to try and improve him as a player, I would literally spend that evening watching his matches from last season. I wouldn't watch all of them, wouldn't be able to do it, but I would get somebody to compile every time he gets the ball in about 10 games and just literally sit there replaying it and going, right, you got it in this position. You took him on, you ran into a blind alley, you got 3 players on you. Look at where Bruno was, look at where Mainu was. If you give them the ball and then move in there, those players are going to leave you. You cut inside here and you've had a shot. If you got your head up, look at where Anthony is on the back post. Look at the movement that Rasmus has made. And it's all that sort of stuff. Look, it's easier said than done. I think the most inconsistent players in football are wingers. Look at Gnabry. Where is he? I think Gnabry, when he's on it, is an amazing player. Where is he? Is he injured? You don't see him in the German squad. You don't see him playing for Bayern Munich. Look at Ashley Young. He'd have 2 or 3 games a season where he was like Lionel Messi. And then he'd have about 30 games a season where he was just Messi. And not Lionel Messi. I mean, like Messi as in shit. Wingers are really inconsistent. And also, it might not be teachable. It might not be teachable. I said this to you yesterday, look, it's not as simple as sitting a player down and saying, in this position, pass the ball. Because if we did that, Pep Guardiola wouldn't need to spend £100 million on Jack Grealish or £100 million on Vardiel. He'd just grab a player from Preston and say, do this, do that, do this. It might not be in those players to do it. Rashford, cool name for Mason and Rashford, says Ryan. Timbala, thanks for your super chat. Rashford came up in a culture of player power at United. Ineos appear to have backed the manager. I wonder how this affects him, says Emily Derry. Should they sign GUEHI if they sign De Ligt, says Marcus? Well, we do need 2. And how many is possibly roughly in or out would be considered the most significant number to prove progress? I would like to see 10 players going out. Some of them will be free, like Martial and Varane. And I would like to see 6 or 7 coming in. I think minimum that's what we want to see. The Sancho haters have been proper sat down tonight, says Swanee. Rashford can concentrate on United again and let Labour deal with the school dinners, says Netflix and Chilwell. What's the story with Kambwala? Is he going to be given this time or go on loan? I hope he stays PQ because I think that would be beneficial. I think there's a player there. I like his attitude. I would like to see Kambwala as our 4th or 5th choice centre-back with... what I want to see as our centre-back roster is Martinez, De Ligt, another new centre-back, and then Kambwala and Evans. That's what I want to see. I think that'd be a really good combination for the season. And obviously Luke Shaw can play there if we can keep him fit as well. Is the GUEHI talk a red herring to get Everton to lower the price on Branthwaite, says Arthur? I don't know whether that red herring would even work. Talking about superstars returning, we've done that one. Okay, what's the chance of Eriksen leaving, says Shahin? I think it's very high. Eriksen's obviously going to be on holiday for a couple of weeks, so Eriksen probably isn't going to leave for a little bit of time yet. But for Man United, that doesn't work out too badly, does it? Because we've got a lot to do at the moment, so staggering things out is not a bad thing. I don't know whether you saw Luke Shaw's interview today, actually. I'll read you the direct quote from this, because I thought this was, you know, I like to, and I know you do as well, so I'm not claiming this, but I like to look at football in a deeper level and converse with people about it. And I think that what Luke Shaw said in England training today was just amazing. I'm a big fan of Luke Shaw, but let me just put this like this as an England person, as an Englishman. The football under Southgate for 6 years has been always crap. Always crap. Like, it's horrible to watch. We've done well. We qualify for every tournament. We've been to a semi-final of a World Cup. We've been to the final of the Euros, been to a quarter-final of the World Cup, and we're in a semi-final of the Euros again. But the football is painful. It's horrible. It's absolutely terrible. And I personally think it's because of him that we haven't won anything. I don't think he's done a good job. I think he's done what anybody would have done. In fact, I think he's underachieved. I think we should have won a tournament by now. So I flip it the other way. But it was really interesting to listen to what Luke Shaw had to say, because he said, I don't understand the criticism of Southgate. What he's done for the country and his players, he's taken us to the next level. No manager has been as successful as he has recently. Us players love him. He's exactly what we need. He always allows us to go out on the pitch and be our best. He's shown a lot of faith and trust in picking me. You contrast that with Jose Mourinho, who was quite critical towards Luke Shaw. You know, I think too far. Who's the better manager, Jose Mourinho or Gareth Southgate? Look, it's like comparing a beautiful chocolate cake with a turd, you know, and Mourinho is the cake. But there's something here, and it's a glimpse into Man United, and I wonder if it gets picked up by the mainstream. I hope it does. It's nothing against Luke Shaw. It's a glimpse of the modern footballer. Luke Shaw is talking out his arse, but he's talking the truth. He's talking his truth. Luke Shaw's truth is, I love Gareth Southgate. I don't understand the criticism. He's great for us. We love playing for him. We really enjoy it. It's some of the happiest times we've had, and we've been successful. And that is his truth. But to anybody with a brain who watches England play, we're terrible at football. He's not getting the best out of you. You're way better than this. People like Phil Foden, Declan Rice, Harry Kane, Saka don't play anything like they do for their clubs under Gareth Southgate. Your style of football's terrible. Your goalkeeper's blasting it up the pitch 20 times a day like it's the mid-80s. You know, it's terrible, terrible, terrible football. But these players are almost brainwashed by it. Why? Why do the players not see what we see? England haven't played a good game of football in 6 years. We don't play good football. We play result football. But you've got Luke Shaw saying, oh yeah, we love him. I don't understand the criticism. He gets the best out of us. The truth is, they love him because they get on with him. He's a yes man. He comforts them. He looks after them. And they genuinely do love him. Declan Rice said it last week. Harry Kane has said it. Those players genuinely love Gareth Southgate. And yet, Luke Shaw probably doesn't like Jose Mourinho. Because Jose Mourinho was hard on him. Who's won the most things? Jose Mourinho. And this is the thing. I think the modern footballer didn't work under Rangnick, didn't work under Mourinho, worked under Ollie. You see where I'm going with this? The modern footballer is happy when they've got a manager that's got their arm around their shoulder, looking after them, telling them how great they are. One of the lads, nepotism, you'll never be dropped. Ollie was the same. Ollie didn't really make that many changes to his team, did he? And Southgate's the same. This is all about player power in a way that they don't even understand. They love a manager that just looks after them, that treats them, you know, like superstars, and you won't be dropped. You will be picked. You know, it's not the way to be successful. It's not the way to be successful. It doesn't work. Like, it doesn't work. And I think Ineos are waking up to this. And I think Man United have taken too long to open up to this. And it's why Pep Guardiola's successful, because he doesn't operate like that. It's why Jurgen Klopp's successful, because he doesn't operate like that. I mean, look, Jose Mourinho, can he be successful in the modern game? I don't know. Maybe he's a little bit old for it, you know, that sort of thing. But it was amazing. I don't care about England, really. If England win the Euros, it's for me. You know, I don't care about what the players say or what Southgate says. Give him a knighthood. I don't care. As I said, get the water fountain out. I'm diving in. But from a Man United point of view, I care, because the mentality of these players has been questionable for years. And when you see an interview like that, and you see how Rangnick wasn't listened to, and how Ollie was really appreciated, and how Mourinho got stabbed in the back, you sort of see a theme that the modern player doesn't like being told what to do. The modern player doesn't like a strict coach, and they rebel against it. And then you look at Ten Hag last season, and he had problems. He had problems with some of these players as well. But it's not, the positive news is it's not all players. How do Man City win the league year after the year with Pep Guardiola, who is a taskmaster and, you know, is forthright with his players? You know, how did Jurgen Klopp be so successful when he is a taskmaster as well? But the problem with Man United is player power got rid of people like that and embraced people like Ollie, and would have embraced someone like Southgate, and we never would have been successful, but everybody would have been happy. It's not about making your players happy. It's about building a team that is focused on winning. I mean, look at the arguments that used to happen in the Sir Alex Ferguson dressing room. So I found it was really interesting. And look, I speak openly about that because everybody knows I'm a massive fan of Luke Shaw. But the England setup has always baffled me. Like, they're desperate to play for England. They love it. They absolutely love it. And I'm just baffled by it because we're crap. I mean, we do get results, but I'm talking about football. We're crap at football, and we're not good to watch. And I hope we're winning it on Sunday. I really do. But I don't understand the criticism. We all love him. He brings the best out of us, but he doesn't. He genuinely doesn't. Hardly any England players play anything like they do for their club team at all. So, but I think it is a glimpse into the modern player where they want people around them telling them how great they are. But it still doesn't bring the best out in them. They just like the environment. How many trophies have England won? How many trophies did Man United win under Ollie? Like, if you want to win trophies, you know, if you go to work and your boss just gives you not a cuddle, they'll get locked up. But you go to work and your boss never tells you off. Oh, I've noticed you've just cost me £1 million. Don't worry about it. You're still going to get Star of the Week. You know, it's like, honestly, it's a little bit like school sports day when you don't get a prize for first place. Everyone gets first place, even if, you know, you're still sat on the starting line eating a bag of crisps. Everyone won. And I think it's competitive sport is what I'm trying to say. And competitive sport should always be about standards and motivation. Mario Franco says you've given Fawcett, Callum and co content for 4 days, says Mario Franco. Mate, if they're watching, they're watching. You know, who's the real winner? And also, I couldn't give a shit. I don't, you know what? I don't really spend any time reading. I don't know what they're trying to do, really, those people, because all it does is grow our audience. Our audience gets bigger and bigger all the time. And I don't read it or watch it anyway. And it's out of context. And everyone's allowed to have an opinion. And I can't see many people disagreeing with me. Remember Conte dropping Son after bad performances, says Piers. I mean, look. Remember Klopp taking off Salah after an hour and Salah throwing his boots on the floor. I love it. I bloody love it. Now, the mainstream will have you moaning, going, oh, God, there's a fallout there. I love it. I love that sort of thing. I love it when passion bubbles over, because you know what happens? They go in the dressing room. Salah says, why did you sub me? Klopp says, because you were playing shit. They calm down and Salah goes, right, well, I'll prove you wrong. And Klopp wins. It's mentality. But if you take a player off and they are moody about it and they don't respond, they never had the right mentality in the first place. So many people have said about this Man United squad for years, they need a kick up the arse. But no one will give them a kick up the arse because it's always been about, well, you'll get the sack because we'll get you sacked or whatever. But they need a kick up the arse. They need a kick up the arse. Look, you know what? I think Rashford will have a good season this year. But has anybody, you know, put a red carpet out and said, come on, Lord Rashford, we're really sorry. He's going to have to come back and work. And he knows he's going to have to come back and work. And that's great. Mason Mount was injured all of last season. He's not a new signing anymore. He's going to have to come back and he's going to have to work. If we buy a new left back, and I really hope it's Gutierrez from Girona, or somebody that's a starting left back, then Luke Shaw, who will have all summer been with England and then have a holiday, he'll come back at the start of August. We might have a new left back and he doesn't start against Fulham. He's got to work. All we need in this squad is work, hard work, dedication and consistency. And if anyone's got a problem with that, then you don't really have the best interests of Manchester United at heart, because we need to build something like Manchester City. And I'm not talking about the 115. I'm talking about what they've built with that foundation. They have built a squad that is ridiculously deep and talented and motivated. And we've got to do that. We can't carry ego. We can't carry people who fall out because they've been told they didn't train hard enough or whatever. We need to build that mentality. And I'm 100% sure that that we can do that. But, you know, there we go. They're not winners. They want a huge Southgate hug Southgate's cheeks, says Parker. Okay. Welcome to the Members Club, Cats. How does GUEHI compare to De Ligt, Branthwaite or Todibo? Oh, double J. That's a horrible question. Right, Todibo plays in the French league, and I haven't watched him much. De Ligt plays for Bayern Munich. I haven't watched them much. Branthwaite I know a lot about. GUEHI I know quite a lot about. I mean, I do know about De Ligt, and I do know about Todibo, but it's ridiculously hard to compare all four. My preference was always Todibo. I think that he sort of fitted the profile better for what United wanted for a better price, under £40 million. GUEHI would be more like Todibo in relation to pace. De Ligt is probably the best passer out of the four and reader of the game and more physical, and he's definitely the best in the air. Branthwaite, I think, has got the potential to be a good passer, also be good in the air, but he's still a work in progress. And I think roughly that's my perception of those four players. But Todibo's not going to be an option anymore, I don't think, if we're being completely honest. Ruskin says the Ollie disrespect continues. You know what, mate? Nothing continues. He's not the manager of Man United anymore. It still amazes me that people think that that period of time was good. I don't look back on it with any real affection other than I like Ollie. I think it cost us 3 years. I think the football was dreadful. I think there are Southgate parallels, that the squad loved him, but the football wasn't very good. And that ultimately we never won anything. And I think that, you know, that's probably a fair assessment of the Ollie years. And I don't know why people, you know, lament and long for it, because it was a mistake. and it cost us 3 years. I love Ollie. I love Ollie. He's a legend. But, you know, these are the conversations that I don't understand why people don't have them. It's almost like you can't... It's like I was saying before. It's either hate or positivity. But actually, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is a legend. I love the guy. But as a manager, I wish we'd never done it. And I was there outside Old Trafford. The video's there. Call me a hypocrite. But I was there singing Ollie's at the wheel. But it was a mistake. It was a mistake. Thanks for ordering the book, Isha. You're a legend. Really appreciate that. But look, I don't want to talk about Ollie because all I think about with Ollie now is what he was as a player. I've moved past that. It's not relevant. And a lot of things went wrong there. And also, in fairness to Ollie, look at the structure above him. We're learning. Well, we always knew it, but God, I mean, I pity Moyes, Van Gaal, Mourinho, Ollie, and Rangnick and Ten Hag for his first 2 years, because you look at what they had above them, and it was like, you know what, Man United now, you've got Blanc, Barada, Brailsford, Favell, Wilcox, Ashworth. You've got 6 good people above Ten Hag. Before them, for the last decade, a Man United manager looks up, and it's like looking up at your barn roof when it's not there. All you can see is the night sky. There's nothing there. There's nothing there. And there never was anything there. So, look, that structure should have been there, and it wasn't. What the players who are still at United when Ralph was boss, shame on those players. That was the chance they had to break the cycle in the down tools. Those are the players I watch, says James. Yeah. One Puggy says, thinking how wrong you was about Ollie, just like you are now with Ten Hag. Good. I'm glad you're thinking about it, because I'm certainly not. It's a bit sad, isn't it, that you're thinking about me being wrong about something that I'm not wrong about at the moment, and I might never be wrong about, but you're wasting time thinking about what I might be wrong about. Great. Cry those tears, mate. Waste your time. GUEHI is okay, just okay, but he's really a United player in the long run. I don't think we'll get GUEHI, Philip. I know we were really interested in him back in sort of February time, but I think the fact that he's played for England prices us out. I do. I think Crystal Palace will want the same amount of money that Everton want for Branthwaite, and I wouldn't pay that money. I wouldn't even do an either or. What's the point in going Branthwaite or GUEHI when they're both going for 60 million? Because it's too much money. So it wouldn't be either or. It would be neither or. Shahan, thanks very much for getting the book. Are you excited for the Here We Go, says Lee. I will bloody love to get a Here We Go tonight. I'm hungry for a 10:30 United stand, July night, Here We Go, Zirkzee, or even Greenwood going, or whatever. I'm hungry for that. But whether we'll get it or not, I don't know. I really don't know. Anything on Chilwell nonsense, Alan? It's nonsense. It's nonsense. Yeah. Right. Thanks, everyone, for watching. Who knows when I'll be live next again? 10 o'clock tomorrow, certainly. But obviously, if anything happens before then, we're ready to go. Really enjoyed the stream today. Nice to let off some steam about the volume. And hope you've enjoyed it as well. Make sure you smash a like and subscribe. Don't forget to check out HelloFresh. You could be checking out some beautiful dishes like this, delivered to your door, 3 or 4 meals, all the ingredients, all the instructions, absolutely fantastic. 60% off your first box, and then 20% off, 25% off for the next 2 months, and free desserts for life. Use the code UNITEDF4L, links in the description, scan the QR code, loads of meals to choose from. Check it out. I'll speak to you all in a bit.